Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows, giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I'm Sonia, surrounded by the great Jack Hirsch and J Train. This is the Big Football Show. You guys heard it first. Shout out to Linda and Mac. Mac is on IR, and we miss you. We hope to see you soon. Guys, how are you this morning?
Yeah, good. I mean, I could be a little better. That chain text that was going on yesterday that the people don't know about, Sonia, with you, J Train, Keith Engel, and Pags. Notice I didn't partake in it. It was a chain text trashing Aaron Rodgers based on a rumor. I wouldn't partake in it. Aaron Rodgers is a legend of the sport. Show a little respect.
So I guess rumors are usually those things that we find are not really true, but it is true because I know Yahoo is not just going to, spread any slander. Aaron Rodgers didn't want to come back. And speaking of coming back, it's the one and only Keith Engel. Good morning.
How are you guys? How we doing?
Doing great. You came in just in time to referee the situation here with Jack, saying that our group chat was just nothing but slander of Aaron Rodgers.
Well, but if he deserves it, what can I say? I slander a lot of people on my show. I worry about lawsuits every week, so I understand Jack's comment, I guess.
It happens. J Train, I knew you had something to say. What was your thoughts as I introduced Keith to the audience?
Oh, I mean, nothing. Aaron Rodgers has just been Aaron Rodgers. You can't slander anything that's shown evidence. It's just been evident. Everything's been doing, man. I was in his corner. I was in the Jets corner at the beginning of the season. I picked them to win because on paper they look like the team to beat. And man, they've been the team that's just been beaten. And it seems like more internally than it is from any other team. So,
guys, if you look at the schedule, the Jets have a bye this week. So leave Aaron Rodgers alone. That means no talk about it this week. It's a bye. He's on vacation. So don't.
It's more like bye-bye.
Give him a memo
it's more like bye-bye at this point. It's more like bye-bye at this point.
Talk about it when every outlet in New York City's talking about it. The Post is talking about the fact that he may be released in the next few weeks. He's not coming back here. If I'm the Jets, I just move on. Either put him on IR or release him, do whatever, and move on.
Well, if these rumors are true, if they are, and they underline the word if, maybe they are, okay? I'll at least dignify these rumors, unlike the nonsense we heard before. Oh, and Matthew Stafford for Sam Darnold deal. That I wouldn't even dignify, that nonsense. But these rumors might actually be true. But where would Aaron Rodgers actually go? He would be the best backup in the NFL if he didn't have such a big personality. So he can't be a backup anywhere. I guess he'll have to settle on being a bridge quarterback. There are only a handful of teams that potentially could use him last year. At most, maybe the Tennessee Titans, a team like that. The Raiders are going to probably draft a young quarterback, but they're a possibility. The Cleveland Browns, possibly, but there are not many options out there for him.
Maybe he goes back to his team. His division. Excuse me. Maybe he goes back to his division and pulls a Brett Favre and goes to Minnesota.
If they want stick J.J. McCarthy for one more year to maybe learn under Aaron Rodgers and tell him you're a bridge quarterback for a year, that's a possibility.
He's not going to a playoff contender this year. Why would you bring that drama into your locker room if you're competing for a championship?
I'm going to give you a dog horse where Aaron Rodgers might wind up. Not this year, next year. A real dog horse. The Pittsburgh Steelers. If they fold by the end of the year, Russell Wilson isn't good. I could see them bringing him in, with Justin Fields. They're not overly high on Justin Fields, the Steelers. I could possibly see that because keep in mind, Mike Tomlin has observed Aaron Rodgers all these years. He lost to him in the Super Bowl, and he might be thinking to himself, he's got enough left in the tank to get the job done within our scheme. So that might be a real dark horse there, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And let me just take a moment real quick to say good morning to all the commenters coming on. I wanted to definitely get here now because Excalibur Force, good morning. I'm glad you said you got audio. I literally went down to check that when you said there was no audio. I saw your comment. So I didn't see there was an issue on my end, but I'm so glad you got it. And hello to Richard. Good morning. And of course, Keith Engels putting up his "You Can Support by Sending Stars," and a lot of comments this morning on this Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to say debacle. He's been a piece that has been crumbling all season, and I have no rhyme or reason to say either way about Aaron Rodgers. But we've talked about him ad nauseum this entire season. His lack of trying, even with his mushroom retreat before the season began, and now. And this honestly goes all the way back with Rodgers with Green Bay, and Green Bay Packer fans are now coming out basically saying the same type of situation happened there. And so, Jack, we personally definitely don't, attack you on this one, but unfortunately, this was a rebuild with, Queen Prima Donna Rodgers, and it just didn't work out for you.
Aaron Rodgers is taking a hit for the team. Case in point, let's turn to Keith Engel. When the Jets lost to the Patriots, did Aaron Rodgers not lead the Jets on a touchdown drive, put them ahead, and he turned it over to the Jet defense to make one final stop? And if the Jet defense would have done it, the Jets would have won. So how's that on Aaron Rodgers?
I was at a cruise. I just remember the Patriots winning. I don't remember any of the details.
There you go. Very, very good.
Okay, guys, Keith's only here for another.
And as far as Jay Crane goes trashing Aaron Rodgers, if his phone rang and they told him they essentially just cut Derek Carr for Aaron Rodgers, Jay Crane would get all excited.
No, I would not. I'll be honest with you. Not at this juncture. Not at this juncture.
We've given Aaron 7 minutes beyond what he deserves.
Yes.
Keith, we know we got you in here for a limited amount of time. Let's go ahead and get your spiel on yesterday's college football activity. A lot of close calls, nail biters once again, and the SEC is still all jumbled up. Georgia's still not ranked like they were in the past. What were your thoughts on yesterday's game, starting with the top ones you ran down with those earlier games?
Well, the SEC is in chaos. Georgia's back in the playoff. They are now in the SEC playoff, and they'll play either Texas or Texas A&M, depending who wins Thanksgiving night. But a bunch of teams took themselves out yesterday. Colorado, Ole Miss, maybe Alabama. I'm not sure. Alabama will probably still be in the rankings this week, but if A&M wins the title, they're going to drop out. And by the way, I don't know if it's such a good thing that Georgia is in the title game, because if they lose and have a third loss, they may very well find themselves out of the 12-team playoffs. So this is a quirky thing that we've talked about that can happen here. Indiana gets probably, I hate to use the word exposed for what they are. They're a good football team, but they hadn't played a top 25 team all season, and it showed yesterday.
But they're 12-0. They were 12-0. Okay, they lose from Ohio State. Is it their fault their schedule's soft? Why don't you just tell them in the beginning of the year, forget it. You guys have no chance of possibly getting, into the
No, listen, well, they could have gone and they could have shut everybody up by winning yesterday or playing a close game yesterday. They did not. They were embarrassed yesterday. They had a great first drive, and they did nothing the rest of the day, basically. They couldn't stop the Ohio State pass rush. Their special teams were horrendous. Special teams probably cost them the game with a blocked punt and a punt return for a touchdown. So again, Indiana will probably this week, I think, stay in the peripheral of the playoff rankings. But I would think there is a possibility of people passing them. You're going to see a team that was unranked 2 weeks ago, Arizona State, play for a chance to get in the playoff.
That's what's crazy.
This has been people who were against this 12-team playoff because they said the regular season wouldn't matter. I hope they are all shut up because every single week has mattered, and it will matter the next few weeks. The things that matter the least, a couple will matter. They still matter. I shouldn't say they won't matter the least. The playoff, the conference championship games are going to take on less significance if we see Georgia get there and lose and not be in the playoff. Then you kind of get penalized for having to play an extra game.
That's going to be crazy. If they miss the playoffs, that's insane. Like, that's literally like unfathomable.
So, Keith, does BYU's chances get dashed because of 2 straight losses like that?
Yeah, I think BYU's out because I don't think they can make the championship game. So there's no way to beat Big 12's getting 2 teams in. They're getting the winner, and that's it. The ACC before yesterday, I would have said the same thing about the ACC, 1 team. They have now, with everything that happened yesterday, there's a possibility 2 teams get in from the ACC. I was berating Indiana a minute ago. I got it. The team I root for is the Miami Hurricanes. They haven't beaten a ranked team all year either, by the way. I shouldn't say they beat. No, they haven't beat they beat nobody ranked all year. Nobody. So
now, you mentioned you mentioned it, but Notre Dame has played 2 ranked teams. But Notre Dame has had a really good schedule. But a good season. But they're kind of cupcake as well.
It's going to be. They're playing great football right now. I said, wait on Riley Leonard. He was a perfect quarterback once they learned how to use him, and they've learned how to use him since that loss to Northern Illinois. That loss hurts them even worse than you think, by the way, because Northern Illinois has not had a good season in the MAC either. But Notre Dame, I think, is a big winner from yesterday because I think they may pass Penn State, who just barely won at Minnesota. And I think I gave you Minnesota the other day when we were talking about it, Jack, when I gave my 3 picks. I picked the Notre Dame game over. I picked Minnesota, and I can't remember who else I picked, but I think I was 3-0, which is ironic because I didn't bet any of those games yesterday. So.
And good morning to you, Matt Henry, Buckeye Nation. He says, coming on. Keith, everybody loves college football, and you always bring out all the fans. So thank you again for being with us this morning. It is very competitive, and it's this is what we talked about when you start bringing in other teams as part of the division. The Red River rivalry, and these kids are forever storming the fields. I mean, it just looks so unsafe. There's no way you're getting to your car anytime soon.
I don't know. It is unsafe. I don't know if it's as unsafe as like basketball courts being stormed because you're in such a confined space on the courts. But, these teams act like they've never won a game before. And in fact, yesterday in the BYU Arizona State game, they had to clear the field because the game wasn't quite over. Arizona State mistimed the clock a little bit. I was a little surprised they did what they did at the end of the game. If you saw the last play, the kid kind of threw the ball straight up in the air. He'd been better off just kind of running around.
Yes.
Right. They had 1 second left. Right.
Yeah, I didn't understand that call at all. And then they gave BYU a shot at the end zone, which they got. I think the kid caught the ball at the 1 or 2 yard line. So they put themselves in position to lose a game. They probably should never have done that. But listen, I was worried about college football and everything that goes on off the field, wrecking my feel for the game because I love Saturdays. But the energy and excitement has been there from noon until 1 o'clock in the morning. The excitement I've always said this, the energy at the games themselves, the game sites themselves is so much higher than it is on Sunday. And that's not to knock the NFL. It's just a different type of energy. And it's still there for me so far. So they haven't wrecked it. I was worried that I wouldn't feel it, but I feel it. It's been a crazy, crazy season. And you still got an undefeated team in Oregon. I think they're the only undefeated team. With Army going down yesterday, I think Oregon's the last team standing. And Army knocked themselves out of the playoff contention. They, whatever little bit of hope they had, they're definitely not going to say
Keith, it was very damaging. I would assume Colorado's loss to Kansas.
Yeah.
Very disappointing.
Disappointing. They came out really flat. They didn't play well. The game was probably not as close as 13, whatever the final was. 13.
They rushed for 300 yards on them.
Kansas ran for more yards than Colorado gained all day long. And the big question here is, well, Colorado's taking themselves out of the playoff race. The other big question is, did this loss hurt Travis Henry's Heisman candidacy? Because I thought he'd locked it up. Now I'm not so sure again, because Cam Ward was really good yesterday. Giante goes over 2,000 yards, still chasing Barry Sanders. So that question still remains open with a couple of games to play for most of these teams.
And I really
thank
hate
you,
that.
Matt, and good morning to Paul as well, coming on this morning. And like he pointed out, Oklahoma stormed the field. The game wasn't even over with. Like, come on, y'all.
28
Oklahoma's got a big, long history of winning big football games. They shouldn't be storming the field. If you're storming the field, great. Yeah, I know it's a big win because they haven't had a big year and a lot going on in Coach Venable's life this week, and we wish him and his family the best. And it's a big win for them. But gosh, when I get it, sometimes when these lower ranked or programs really have a big upset, but Oklahoma storming the field and you got all those national championships, and
he had his daughters out there and everything.
Well, it was good because his wife is going through some stuff that was announced this week, and he's been taking a lot of heat in Oklahoma and from guys like me, and we wish him the best. He's a good person, and it's got nothing to do with his, one doesn't have anything to do with the other.
So I got a question here for you, Keith. It says, Matt says, what is everyone's thoughts on Indiana and losing to the only team they have played with a pulse? Their best win is against a below average, mediocre Michigan team.
Yeah, as I said, this is going to hurt them a lot. It's not the fact that they lost so much, it's the way that they really were not in the game after the first quarter, really. Made some big mistakes. This team will stay. I think this team stays on the peripheral of the playoff, but possibly gets pushed out. Big winner yesterday, by the way, I forgot to mention Tennessee, who was really, I thought, I
was going to get to that. Yes.
Ranked last week. They're now back in because they were out last week. Even though they were ranked 11th in the poll, they would have been out because Boise State would have moved ahead of them, and the Big 12 winner would have moved ahead of them.
That's
so
crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. Very competitive, and Deion Sanders, looking really good. Still looks decent, but has dropped one. But looking way better than he did last year.
Who? I'm sorry, who?
Coach Prime, Colorado.
Okay, they've had a good season. Yesterday was a bad loss, as we just talked about, but they've definitely been a lot better than I thought they would be. Yesterday, where they get hurt, where they had improved the entire season, was in the trenches, and they just got pummeled in the trenches yesterday. And by the way, Kansas was really giving Shedeur Sanders the business every time they could yesterday. He was getting roughed up pretty good. There was a few flags I thought didn't get thrown that maybe should have, but that's what you got to do with those.
Yeah, for sure. That knee shot, that should have been a flag.
That was
Richard brings up Florida's man too.
Yeah, dangerous.
Yes, I agree. You can't play that kind of football, but that kind of intimidation is what teams try to do with quarterbacks they think are a little soft, and I don't know whether it had an effect or not. They were hitting him early enough.
Kicked out of the game who went for his knees or what?
No,
I believe so. No,
he should be suspended for a period of time, not just kicked out of that game. At least a couple of other games after that.
Well, college is very inconsistent with their whole. I mean, if he had targeted hit him in the head, he'd been out of the game. But if he hits him in his knees, that's not a targeting call. But it's just as dangerous in a different kind of way.
And Richard brings up the Florida win as well. That was pretty good. I mean,
I'll tell you what, Billy Napier was probably the most likely coach in the Power Four conferences to get fired this year. He's going to be back next year. And he has not, this team, including me, have kind of run them down this year. They have 5 losses, but every single loss they have, and it was before the rankings or this week's rankings, was to a top 15 team. Every single loss they had was to a top 15 team. They had the hardest. People talk about Georgia's schedule, which was very, very hard. Florida's was even harder, and they didn't navigate it well, but they've had a couple of big wins now against Ole Miss. They beat LSU just last week. So Florida's starting to get some momentum down there, and Billy Napier maybe won't just save his job, but maybe he'll turn things around down there in Florida.
Excalibur's talking about the Memphis Tulane game, Thursday night, Navy versus East Carolina. Oregon State versus BSU Friday morning. It's going to be a busy, busy week.
Well, Thanksgiving week, lots of games. We got games Thanksgiving night, Texas Tech the same time. I don't know. I think there might be another game as well. I haven't looked at the exact days and times, but you got Friday after Thanksgiving is always a big day for college football, and now the NFL is moving into that territory as well. But you got 2 big weeks of the regular season, then the conference championships, and then you still got Army Navy after that. So lots of exciting. This poll will change every single week until we're done. Probably the only thing that hasn't changed is the top 3 week after week.
What do you think about Georgia's defense not having a few mishaps against UMass? And that game was pretty close in the first half.
It was, again, I don't know how motivated they end up blowing them out. I don't know how motivated they get for playing UMass. The SEC does this, and I guess I got to give them a pass. I used to really ride them for playing these cupcakes in late November. Everybody, except Alabama, except a couple. Well, Alabama played Mercer last week. So everybody in these last couple of weeks here will play a cupcake. And look at UMass takes their whatever. They probably got paid $1 million or more to go there and get their butts kicked, and that's what happened. And it's not, that game's not going to hurt or help Georgia. They're going to move up a little bit in the poll because of what happened in front of them, but it doesn't hurt or help them at all.
Yeah, Matt Henry says Will Howard for Heisman. We know you don't have a lot of time with us this morning, so J-Train, why don't you get with Keith on these picks here before he gets out of here, and also ask him about his Patriots news. Drake May getting a start again today. Your thoughts on that first, and then J-Train will get with you about the picks. What are your thoughts on your Pats going into today's game?
Listen, Miami hasn't played great football, and the Patriots, again, similar to last year, have played well enough to lose games. They've got blown out maybe once or twice, but they've been in games. Last week they were in the game. Drake May, and again, I was against him playing so early because I was afraid for his health and his confidence. The confidence part is not a problem. I mean, even though that offensive line is so putrid, he does have some mobility that Brissett doesn't have. And at least if I watch games and they're losing games, they're at least fun to watch right now. Drake May's fun to watch. I just need him to stop sliding with his head first, and because I don't want him getting more concussions. He's already got 1 this year. These things tend to pile up, as you see with the Tua situation and others. So, again, they've made progress. There's still a lot of work to be done on the O-line and weapons. They need weapons. They let Tyquan Thornton go last week. He's a big disappointment the last couple of years. I saw the Chiefs gobble them up right away, so he'll probably turn into a star there in Kansas City. but there's still some work to do here, but there's some things to be excited about. There's some really good players in the secondary, and the defense has been, for the most part, okay. And I think I've been hard on Gerard Mayo, who I liked getting the job. I had a little issues with him in preseason and through the early part of the season, but I think he's starting to get his feet under him and taking control of his team a little bit. So it's a work in progress. It's going to be a little while before they win consistently, I think, but I think they're on the right road.
Definitely on the right road, and good luck to your Pats on today, especially because they're not playing my team. J-Train.
So Keith, I have your picks in the email, but can you just remind me of your picks that you have?
Sure, I can. I'd like to remind you that I didn't take any of the teams I took last week. Actually, that was AI. We were talking about AI. I think my AI person. I go 0-3 or 3-0 every week. This week, Seattle +1 against the Cardinals. I like Green Bay -5.5 over the 49ers and whatever.
Is it still 5.5 because Purdy's reportedly out?
Yeah,
He's out.
the final.
That's what it was yesterday.
So I'll jump all over that 5.5. It won't be 5.5 if I want to.
So you're locking in your rate,
Right.
basically.
Right.
Okay.
And I'll take Houston -9.
Okay. Tell me why about Seattle.
I always like Seattle at home. I like teams getting points at home if they're any good. Seattle's starting to play a little better football. Beat the 49ers last week. Probably a disappointment. And I'm not sure about the Cardinals yet. They're playing good football. I'm still not sure. That whole division is just like a mess, I guess, for lack of a better term. Nobody can seem to get any momentum. The Rams look like they were getting some momentum, and then they throw up a stinker. And 49ers look like they're getting healthy, and then Purdy gets hurt. And Seattle has been healthy for the most part, I think, but they just have not got it going. And I think maybe they will. They got a great home field advantage here as well.
I don't know, Keith. I mean, the Cards look like they're on their prime position, given the fact that there are some injuries on other teams. But Kyler Murray has been like in prime form. He's been on it, man.
He has played well. I don't know who he's been working with, but his game does look like it's taken a step
way better.
Maybe he knows the plays.
Oh yeah, read the books.
Leave the video games alone. Right, exactly.
The running game has been good. John Connor's been very good in the run game for the most part. They're a good football team. I'm not taking anything away from the Cardinals. I like Seattle at home. Most of the times I've taken Seattle will always be at home because I think they have a huge one of the better home field advantages when they have a decent football team.
It's always the 12th man.
Plus, I love those quarterbacks. Jack knows I love those ex-Jack quarterbacks.
Yes.
All right, tell us about your Green Bay minus 5.5.
Again, this pretty much comes down to Green Bay starting to play better football. Jacobs is healthy. Love is starting to play better football. And the fact that Purdy's not playing in this game. I don't even know who is playing. I can't remember the guy's name.
Brandon Allen, I think, is the guy. Brandon Allen.
Yeah, which I think we might be familiar with if we're a Carolina fan, right? Sonia, I'm not sure. Didn't he play there?
I don't know is it Carolina? I thought he played with the Rams.
I'm not sure, but I thought
Brandon Allen.
There was
I think it might have been the Rams. I'm not sure. It was another team. I forgot. He was their backup.
Either way, not a terribly successful quarterback. And listen, that's pretty much my whole spiel for taking Green Bay here. Plus, they got to keep pace with the Lions. Green Bay's just a big game in the North.
I agree. What about Houston?
Houston's just starting to get it together. I think they had that bad loss a couple weeks ago to
Detroit. Yeah.
The Lions after leading that game and having it well in hand. I think they're getting healthy. You saw Nico
Collins.
Nico Collins, thank you. Come out big to get started. He's a big part of that offense, and they've missed him a lot, more than Stephon Diggs being out. I mean, I think that would have been a good addition to this team if with him and Nico playing together. But if I've got to miss one of those guys the rest of the season, it's going to be Diggs and not Collins. And I think, and Joe Mix, by the way, has played very, very good football down there. I think I'm very happy to have him back right now.
He's on pace to beat his 2021 career high in 1,200 yards.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Just a little plug here. Brandon Allen was drafted by the Jaguars, wrong cat, Keith, in 2016. But he also played with the Rams. I remember that. Broncos and the Bengals. And we got a comment here real quick. Excalibur 4 says the Sea Chickens are starting 3 different linebackers, but a more bigger comment, producer Linda, saying good morning, great to see everyone. Good morning, Linda. Mac is getting better. Thank you. God bless him. Heads up comments are coming from National Streaming Sports are going to be Mac. So Mac, hello. So glad you're on watching this morning. And Linda, good to see you as well. And good morning, Almighty Finesse. We definitely are wishing Mac the best. We miss you.
Absolutely. Keep getting better, Mac. Do what those doctors tell you. That's what I keep telling them. Do what the doctors tell you.
And Linda. And listen to Linda, too.
Yes, especially.
Correct.
Well, Linda should also listen to Mac. It goes both ways.
Well, he's the patient right now, so.
Listen, take it from a guy who's been married 3 times. Listen to your wife. That's all I can do.
Thanks, Keith. Wow. Note taking right now.
I was going to say so far, but my wife could be listening. I don't know.
Okay, J Train, did you get?
He gave everything we needed, and that's great, man. Great stuff.
That's great. You guys check out Keith. We know he's got to jump out of here and get on his show. Keith is on every day. Keith, tell everybody how to follow you and find you this morning.
Oh, you'll find me on my Facebook, TJ Sports Talk Facebook page, my personal page, YouTube, Twitter. I will be on the Roku channel live as well, the national Streaming Sports Roku channel, and we're excited as every Sunday because things go crazy. I have no idea what audio. I had some audio problems Friday as well, so I look at things have been weird lately.
Listen, Jack couldn't even get on Thursday. It's just been a whole mess. I felt so bad about that Wednesday actually. And thank you.
It wasn't my fault I couldn't get on, you're saying, because I was confused what the heck was going on.
It was crazy, but Keith, have a good show. We'll see you soon. Thanks for joining us as always.
Enjoy the games, guys.
Keith, thank you, everybody. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, and happy Thanksgiving as well as he's getting out of here. I forgot to tell everybody happy Thanksgiving week. And everybody, thanks for coming on, the likes, the loves, and all that good stuff. All right, J Train, I'll give you the rest of the reins over here with the picks and all that good stuff.
Sure, but before we get to our picks, Mac texted me and told me to give Jack the weekly trivia question.
Oh, yes, we missed it last week. You know what?
Mac,
I'm so sorry. He
texted
me.
That's the only thing I didn't miss, the weekly trivia.
No, so last week
question.
It's crazy. He told me too, and I missed that part of the text. I'm so sorry, Mac. He was like, "Don't forget to find a good trivia question," and I had one in my mind, and I forgot to tell you. So sorry, Mac. But yeah, J Train, you go ahead and get it done for me. All
right, Mac. Jack. I know you're ready. So this ties into what we talked about yesterday in Sports Memory about quarterbacks staying with their teams for their whole career. So there's three. Name three Hall of Fame quarterbacks that played for their team the entirety of their career, never having won a Super Bowl.
Well, one is Dan Marino.
That's correct.
We're giving him some music here.
The other, I think he only played for one team. And man, oh man, oh man. I believe only one team. I'm not certain. Dan Fouts?
Yes, that's correct. That's two.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. I got that. That's pretty good. That one wasn't easy. I'm kind of impressed that I got that. And the third one, I mean, I have to go down the list of great quarterbacks. And the third one would be John Elway.
Never having won a Super Bowl.
Oh, never having won a Super Bowl. I'm sorry. My apologies.
I'll give you another one. Go ahead. Yes, since maybe you didn't hear the question right.
Never having won the Super Bowl. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. No. I knew that with the Fouts thing. I was thinking I had a brain cramp all of a sudden with Elway. Never won a Super Bowl. The third guy is... Man, oh man. That's a... yeah. Jim Kelly.
That's it. All three. You got all
three. Yeah. I thought you'd get me in the technicality, the USFL though. He wasn't with one team his whole pro career.
No, that's it. Yeah, that's it. That Dan Fouts was great because I would have got the first Dan Marino and Jim Kelly, but I definitely wouldn't have got Dan Fouts.
I know. I always put myself down, but I impressed myself with the Dan Fouts one to dig that one up.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about great quarterbacks, we don't talk about Dan Fouts. His name really doesn't come into the discussion much. He's kind of under the radar, unfortunately. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, congratulations, Jack and Paul. Thanks for trying to help him out. I couldn't show him the comments because we have to make sure Jack knows his stuff. So Paul had it too, but congratulations. And you guys saw I gave him a nice little theme song there. So yay, great. So he's 2-0 this morning.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but with my picks, I'm one game under 500 this season. I'm struggling. It's kind of like one of those seasons where I just can't get over the top and get my picks right. And I even before when you were discussing the games with Keith, I did something I never do. It's a rule not to do it. I never change a prediction the day of the game. You stick with what you thought about a little early in the week because the temptation of changing the pick normally backfires. But I couldn't help but change one pick because of the circumstances, and I'll tell you exactly what I did later, which game it was when it comes up.
So let's go with your picks today. What do you got?
it's not one of the 3 picks, but I'm going to take the Chargers at home with take the 3 points against the Ravens. I know the Ravens coming off a loss, a popular pick, but it was a big game against Pittsburgh. Don't tell me they're going to be more motivated, even as motivated against the Chargers. They might have a little bit of a hangover. They wanted to beat Pittsburgh badly, the Ravens. They were so focused. And that Charger defense is tough. They'll be primed for this game, So I'm going to take the Chargers with the 3 points. I'm going to take the Bears with the 3.5 over the Vikings. The Vikings in that division, I just have a feeling they're going to lose contact. The Lions are going to win the division. The Packers are going to be fine going forward and even get better, I think. A lot better, perhaps. But the Bears, I think the Vikings are the one team that could kind of fall off the pace. It's like marathon runners, 26 miles. Vikings are looking good, till the 18-mile point, and then the other runners kind of pull away. That's what I think is going to be the case of the Bears. I'll take them with the 3.5 points. I think the Bears are going to upset the Vikings outright in Chicago, but I'm going to take.
Let me say I can see that happening for sure, because if you look at the last game that the Bears played against Green Bay, that was a very close game. It was 20-19.
Yeah,
their offense look a lot better. Yeah, so I can see that happening. I'm just still concerned with the Vikings defense is much better than the Green Bay defense. So I mean it'll be close, but we'll see.
And good morning, Hope, on the YouTube channel, and everybody. All right, yeah, Jack, those sound like really good picks.
Cut me off to greet someone that made a comment in mid-sentence. I mean,
you weren't finished. I thought you said you were finished.
Oh,
I thought you were finished. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I got one more pick. Okay, I'm going to take the Commanders, giving 10 points to the Cowboys. The Commanders at home. I know how tempting it is to take the Cowboys with all those points. You could think, well, the Cowboys are due to play better. But keep this in mind, the Commanders have lost their last 2 games. I mean, this isn't a trap game for the Commanders. They, want to win and look good and straighten their team out. It could have been 3 losses in a row if it wasn't that fluke game with the Bears, that last play of the game. So I think the Cowboys are really struggling. They're in bad shape. So I'm going to take the Commanders, a bold move, give the 10 points. But if anyone liked the Cowboys, the 10 points are tempting, I got to admit that. But so those are my picks. The Chargers, the Bears, and the Commanders.
And are the Commanders playing at home, or are they playing in Dallas?
They're playing at home.
They're playing at home, yeah.
You want to know something? It may help the Commanders if they played at Dallas, because Dallas is worse at home than on the road.
Right. All right. Well, I don't have any problems with none of these picks here. I could see Commanders winning. By over 10. For 2 touchdowns is 14 points, and Dallas is just really in shambles right now. The only question I might have is that Bears one. That might, that's probably.
But Jay Frank, consider this: had the Bears not blown that game against Washington, that last play of the game, and had they just made the field goal against Green Bay, think of that's like a 4-game swing, 2 games won that that they lost.
No, you're right, because they're 2-4. They're 2-4. They're 2-4 in 1 possession games this season. So
yeah,
all their losses were close. Yeah, very close.
Well, I'm not even talking about 1 possession games, because that could be deceiving. We're talking about 1 play games. Those 2 losses were 1 play away. A Hail Mary they had to defend against and make a field goal in the other game. We're talking about 1 play, not a possession even.
Yeah, but they blew that game against Green Bay. They should have won that game. All intents and purposes, they should have won, but it didn't happen. Sonia, let's get your picks out.
So first of all, I'm gonna go ahead and pick my team today, Carolina. We are not getting beat by that many points. We either gonna win. Listen, y'all laughing, but the last time I said that, what happened? We freaking won. Okay, so yeah. I'm gonna go ahead. Carolina's coming off of a bye week. Yes, it's the Chiefs, but who the what cares? We're so sick of him. They're not going to get beat by, what was it, 10.5 points, some crap like
minus
that.
11. I mean, they're plus 11. That's plus 11.
That's not happening. Okay, so we are either going to win outright or we're going to win by the points. Okay, so we're looking fresh. Bryce is coming into his own. Bryce is ranked higher than he has ever been ranked in his NFL career. Everybody's healthy. Adam Thielen is back. Okay, pull up. We in Carolina. Stand 10 toes down. We in this BOA. Roll with us. Okay.
Your rookie running back's making his debut too.
Yes, there you go. Jonathan Brooks, the rookie running back, is finally healthy. Xavier, look at, like, we got our squad. As they say, squad, we ready. We are ready. And we already have won, 3 in a row. So let's roll with us. We ready.
Well, 2 in a row, I think. I don't think it's 3 in a row. But,
2, and I'm gonna tell you, like you told me a while ago when I was greeting somebody, you interrupted my picks to comment on whether or not we won in a row, Jack.
I'm interested in facts. That's what I'm
No, I know.
2 in a row.
Okay, so in my mind, we won 3 in a row because we're winning today. Okay, so go ahead and count
this. It's a trap game for the Panthers, perhaps, having the Chiefs. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe if you had picked them, you could elaborate on that.
He's taking a shot at me, Sonya.
The only way J Train lives down his comment earlier the year about the Eagles being a trap game for the Saints, if you call the Chiefs a trap game for the Panthers, then J Train is on parole. He's off. You know,
I really don't know if I really believe trap game is the right word I would use here. The Chiefs are coming off of a loss. Yes, some people say, you know, when you come off of a loss, that makes you more vicious the next week because you don't want to drop 2 in a row. And you definitely, as a Kansas City Chiefs reigning Super Bowl champs, don't want to start a losing trend. But let's be clear. I mean, the Panthers have the home advantage. I gave you all the other reasons why we really should be able to play good ball today at a minimum and be very competitive, no matter who it is that we are opposing. So when you do that, when you talk about those facts, plus everybody coming in, I mean, I don't know if I would say this is a trap game. I think this is going to be a good football game. I think it's going to come down to who plays better ball, who manages the clock better. And if you don't want Patrick Mahomes to score, you got to keep him off the field. So I think it's going to be one of those days that I hope the defense is ready for when he does come out there to hurry up and get him off the field. And I hope the offense is definitely well rested because we're going to have to play all 4 quarters and stay out there and keep the Chiefs off the field. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. Like I said, Carolina is going to win either by the point spread or win outright, and I stand on that. Make sure you save this clip because I told you first. My next pick is going to be Houston. CJ Stroud, even though he suffered a sophomore slump, I think that Houston is going to win on this pick either by the points or outright as well. I just don't see them going in like who were they playing? Tennessee, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the Titans. I'm not sold on the Titans. I mean, they're still under this whole maturation phase with their new coach after Vrabel's left. They also lost Derrick Henry. I mean, we just can go through a list of issues that Tennessee has already had prior to those two things changing with their coaching and their playing staff. And Will Levis is just not on the level enough to rein that team in under his helm. They're all over the place right now. Now, it could be a sneak, but I just don't see it. I think Houston gets this the AFC matchup. It's the time of year that we see teams in divisions really have to play better football all around because this is the time that these playoff positions are starting to formulate. So I think Houston stands up on this one, and they get it. The Philadelphia game, I mean, I know Jack always tells me don't say this no-brainer, okay? It's like I'm saying, I feel like it's the Eagles. They're flying high. Shout out to Pags. We miss you, brother. When you can come in and jump in on with us, you definitely got the invite. But Philadelphia is just one of those teams that have started to gain momentum. And as opposed to last year, this time where we saw them starting to crash and burn, it's the complete opposite. They are ascending. So Philadelphia is my third pick going into this week's pick.
You think the Eagles are no-brainer against the Rams?
Yeah, I mean, they got Saquon Barkley. He's playing, listen, him and Jalen by themselves You know, I feel like they're set up. The Rams have been a hit or miss team, honestly. You know, people are like, okay, yeah, they're here, and you expect one thing, and then they come in and you're just like, what is going on? I think there's some sort of like, it's almost like there's an anomaly once they get out there, and you can't put your finger right on it. That's just not matching up perfectly when they take the field, but it's a hit or miss. So that's why I'm not really sold on the Rams. And again, it's Philadelphia. They're trying to be very competitive for the NFC. I mean, you got to compete with teams like the Lions. This is week 12. It's play or go home right now.
Look, I agree with you about your latter two picks. And I think Philly, I wouldn't say like it would be a no-brainer because I think the coaching matters. And I think coaching in Los Angeles is a lot better, but I still agree with you. I think Philadelphia goes there and gets a close win.
Why not agree with me with the first part? I mean, you just left that alone.
Well, let me tell you, you are definitely on your way to being a great attorney because you presented your case well. You put out all the stops and everything like that, but you it's something that prosecutor is going to come and bring out the last bit of evidence that says that the Chiefs are coming out. And look, they're upset. They lost. Everybody brings the best teams their best. And I think Carolina is going to bring their best to them with what they have. But it won't be enough. I think the Chiefs are going to win that game, even at home in Carolina. It's just too tough.
I mean, that's what they have. I do like that part, but it's going to be more than what you think. I mean, I understand. We played the Saints, and
I don't mean to diffuse the excitement in Carolina because I know it's there now. Those $3 tickets now went all the way up to $12 to get in.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? I kind of know that. But they're going against an outstanding Kansas City Chief defense. Bryce Young is doing hardly anything with that defense. And coming off a loss, I mean, this game isn't going to be close. The Chiefs are going to beat the Panthers something like 34-7. So we're going to get back to reality with the Panthers. Listen, Panthers won 2 games last year. They already won 3 games this year. If they win a couple of more games and they're like 5-12 this year, and Bryce Young is showing some potential, then it's been a successful year, you know, in the sense that they're, taking a step forward, that they're at least progressing. That's how I look at it. Don't get so excited that they can compete with the Kansas City Chiefs because this is going to be a one-sided game. I mean, it's not.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait till 4:30 to start the group text messages again.
I mean, the best the Panthers could do is hang in for a while, like early in the second quarter, they're losing 3-0 or something like that. You know, just hang tough a little while. You know, but no shame. It's not no shame, but the Chiefs are a different level. I mean, you're getting a little too excited about the Panthers winning a couple of games. So they beat the New Orleans Saints. I mean, come on. I mean,
kick a team while they're down. Wow.
But I will
He's talking real big to be talking to, you know, mushroom shit-type consumer, Aaron Rodgers.
No. Well, everyone keeps pointing Aaron Rodgers out, you know, when they don't want to talk about their team anymore. I mean, Aaron Rodgers might wind up with the Panthers. You never know.
Oh, no, sir. We don't want that pain down. No.
But, you know, with Carolina, are they really progressing? You know, or was it just a question of last year they were just so bad that that it was inevitable?
Well, the power rankings have us moved up 10 spots. So you tell me if we've progressed or not. Thank you. J-Train, next comment.
The power rankings. I mean,
no one cares.
They change week.
No one cares because you guys are probably number 32 now, Jack. J-Train, please continue.
So I have Pag's picks, but I don't want to put him out just in case he comes in. I mean, I'll just put him out there, and if he comes on, he can explain them. Let's see. Pags he picked Miami -7.5, Tampa Bay -6, and Detroit -8. And let's see here. My picks are. I also picked, as with Keith, I picked Green Bay -5.5. I picked Baltimore -3, and I picked Philly -3 as well. So, I'll explain why I'm picking my team.
I was like,
Pretty much, Green Bay. Look, Green Bay. I just think that the problems with San Francisco not having a quarterback is just insurmountable. We're not sure if they're even going to have Trent Williams as well, the blind side blocking for a quarterback that hadn't played in a while, started a game. And when he did start, he just wasn't great at all. And so I think the main thing is both teams are going to be rushing, because I think some of the key points here I have for San Francisco versus Green Bay is that both teams are really good against the run, and both teams are good at running. So I think there's probably going to be a ground and pound in this game specifically, but I just like Green Bay to win by a touchdown because Brock Purdy's not in the game.
And that weather might play a factor too. And they're playing in Green Bay. It's been extremely cold and they've been getting snow. You just never know.
Right. Well, that's the game I changed my pick on. I had originally picked the 49ers because the 49ers, regardless of their record that stood at 5-5, I thought the talent was still there and the pedigree was still there to make a Super Bowl run. They just had to get it all together, get all their players back same time. But with Brandon Allen as the starter, I mean, he's had 9 career starts. He's 2-7. I mean, he's really in reality a third string quarterback type. And for him to beat the Packers, I doubt it. I kind of flip-flop my pick. They're going to have to really depend heavily on Christian McCaffrey. And, obviously Deebo Samuels as well, because obviously you can move him around. He's such a chess piece that you can move around. And I don't know if George Kittle's playing or not, but it's just they're really having some issues with injuries, which most teams are, but they're really hit hard. So I just don't see it, especially like Sonia, alluded to, is that they're in Green Bay. The weather may be an element against them as well. So it's just going to be tough to. I mean, you hear that, but it's November. We don't know how bad the weather's in Green Bay.
We saw the Cleveland game the other day, though, Jack.
No, but it was snowing in that game. Oh, well, if you turn to the weather report, I don't have it in front of me with Green Bay. I didn't look it up. And it says it's 38 degrees out.
That's freezing.
So, awful.
Right. I mean, because San
Francisco.
Well, coming from there.
Yeah.
Well, my next pick, I got the Ravens -3. I just think the game's going to be close, but it can be close enough to where the Ravens will beat the Chargers. Both teams have really good run defenses. Ravens have a bad pass defense, and I think you were looking at Justin Herbert. He's actually showing that he's a lot better. He's playing to form of what he played early on in his career, so he's starting to look a lot better. So I think not John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh is getting a lot better usage out of him, and the run game as well is with J.K. Dobbins. They're doing well too. I just don't think that the Ravens can afford to lose a game here. They're 7-4 to keep in pace with the Steelers. They're really going to have to keep winning. And Lamar and I'm looking for Lamar and Derrick Henry to have really good games, but it should be close though.
That's going to be a good game anyway, because the brothers are facing each other for the third time in their NFL careers. The Harbaugh coach brothers. I mean, that's going to be a good one. And just a small plug, Green Bay's forecast is the same temperature as it is in Atlanta right now, which is 44 for the high today. And it's 44.
Well, that's not bad. I mean, some weather isn't going to make it.
Yeah.
If it was 14 degrees.
Right.
Yeah, you were mentioning the Harbaugh brothers. Jim Harbaugh coming to the Chargers, the job he's done. If you had to vote for Coach of the Year in the NFL so far, who's been a difference maker, how he's elevated his team, to me, it's Jim Harbaugh right now. I know you could point to other coaches. You could say, well, Dan Campbell. But the Lions, we kind of knew were going to be good. It was a question of whether or not they were going to get to the Super Bowl or not. But we knew they're going to be really good in the regular season. And, the other coaches have done a good job. Kevin O'Connell of Minnesota, for example. But I don't think anyone has positively impacted their team to the point of Jim Harbaugh. that, you know, the way he has, and you mentioned with Justin Herbert, he's brought Justin Herbert back kind of to his old self, or he's trending towards that direction again.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. My last pick, I picked with Sonia, I picked the Eagles. It's going to be really close to me. As much as I think the Eagles are doing a lot better, I just think the key component here missing for me is the coaching aspect. I think if I had to put some check marks on versus each team, I would put a lot more check marks for the Eagles. But that one spot that I would give the nod to would be the Rams in coaching with Sean McVay. So he's done a lot more with less, I think, and I just think that it's going to be a lot closer game than people think, especially playing in LA. But I like a few tush pushes and the Eagles should win by 3.
What is wrong with Nick Sirianni's coaching? I don't get it. I mean, Pat said, you know, he'll be in the hot seat again if he loses, you know, the next game. He's always one game away from being on the hot seat. What's the matter? What's so wrong with his coaching? I don't get it.
I'm not sure. I think it's just a matter of they're not with the talent that's on paper. They should be dominating teams. It should be in the situation where they were in 2022 when they got to the Super Bowl. It seems like, and then when they got to 2023, after the wheels fell off with the same team, and then they started out the gate a little bit shaky as well this season. But they seem to have gotten back on track here. But I guess the jury's still out. You're not sure because I think you should be doing a lot more than what
they're
giving you.
8-2. You can't
I agree.
expect more. I mean, don't tell me the talent says they should go 9-1 or 10-0. They're 8-2. They're doing about as well as they can do, and considering how poorly they finished last year, to get it together this year again. I mean, come on.
I guess. I mean, look like they're turning the tide right now with the last few games they played, but with the way they were winning, they didn't seem like the team that was winning those games. They just seemed like, okay, maybe they're winning because other teams are losing, not playing well.
Would both you agree with this? If we had to say an MVP, maybe Saquon Barkley.
He's a dark horse for sure.
I mean, you're going to look at guys like
know.
Josh Allen.
I don't know
Obviously, with Buffalo, would probably get my vote, but yeah.
He's a dark horse. I would put him in the last. If I had to choose 5 players, I could pick him as number 5 for sure.
Yeah, maybe number 5. Number 5 for sure, but I don't know about like the MVP. But he's definitely up there. I mean, especially leaving the Giants, it's almost like he's morphed into a whole new player. I mean, we knew he had the skill set to be who he was because he had moments that we would see this peekaboo of him being explosive with the Giants. But now it's just like every game is Saquon. Like you just steadily hearing him.
He's the same. He did that with the Giants too.
Yeah, a hit or miss though, Jack.
I mean, with the Eagles, it's having a bigger impact on their team. I mean, if he stayed with the Giants, realistically, the Giants was still going to be bad. They maybe would have won one additional game or something along those lines.
I would say there's less focus on him now because there are a lot more weapons on this team. Yeah. And there's less risk for injury. So because he's staying healthy too. He hadn't been off the field. That's the key factor for him being in the running for MVP or having success because he's been healthy.
Yeah.
So let's start with our games. Let's see. We got everybody's picks. Let's go over the games here. So let's start with the Bucks versus the Giants. I mean, I know Max is listening, but man, the Giants are 2-8. Bucks are 4-6. I just think the Bucks have a 3-headed monster in their running game, regardless of missing their 2 wide receivers in Godwin and Evans. They've shown that they can win games, even though they're kind of a bit of a losing streak here right now. I just think that the Giants giving up explosive runs. I mean, they're one of the worst in giving up explosive runs. They're 29th against the run. This running offense should be they should focus on the run. And I just like the Bucks to win this game, even in New York.
Finesse wants them to tank for Shador. Finesse is a Giants fan, and
I don't think they
lose out.
Players don't tank. Players never tank. The front office and the coaching staff, if Joe Shine knows for sure, and he probably does, he's going to be back next year. And Brian DeBall is Joe Shine's guy, so he'll be back with Joe Shine. They might be tanking it to get the elite quarterback. That's why they're playing Tommy Cutlets, their third stringer, because you hear the term, you play someone who gives you the best chance to win. Sometimes you play the guy who gives you the best chance to lose.
Of course.
That's Tommy Cutlets. He gives you your best chance to lose. Doesn't mean he will. He won 3 games last year. I mean, he's capable, but he's no more than a backup. There's not much upside there. And yeah, Shedeur, Sanders, what a phenomenal pickup that would be if they get him. And the reporters, even the Giants don't have the first overall pick. They might be looking to move up and give up an additional 2 first-round picks to get him. But I got news for you. The Raiders have been pretty bad, and they desperately need a quarterback too. So if they go number 1, they're not trading that pick.
But Steve-O wants to give our show respect because he said, he didn't get nobody fired like some channels said he did. But see, we keep it real here. So thanks for that, Steve-O. Finesse says Mike Evans is back.
Yeah.
And he also says they're 2-8. Jack, what are your thoughts about this competition for the number 1 draft pick? Now, usually teams are trying to win to make the Super Bowl. Now it seems like they're just as competitive to tank their season to get a number 1 pick. Like, what is going on in the league and amongst fans wanting that?
Well, not the players. I mean, it depends how secure the coach is. Take the Raiders' Antonio Pierce. Is he secure to come back next year as the Raider coach?
I don't think so.
But Mark Davis might decide to run it back with them, but I doubt it because reportedly there's been dissension in the Raider locker room. A guy like Max Crosby's not happy, and he advocated for Antonio Pierce. So what about the Tennessee Titans? If they get the first overall pick, would they be open to trading it, decide we're going to stick with Will Levis and we want 3 number 1s for that pick? I mean, that's a possibility. And would the Giants go that far? Would the Raiders go that far? Is Shedeur Sanders, you tell me, is he really that good to give up 3 number 1s?
I don't know. You still got to look at that maturation into the league, and people never play like they do in college, lights out. Even when we saw CJ Stroud last year come in and play lights out, it's just an anomaly because that doesn't always happen. J-Train, what are your thoughts on that?
Look, Trey Lance was a guy that they sent 49ers gave up 3 first-rounders to get this guy, and look where that's at now. Nowhere in the toilet. I mean, they lost out big on that. And, like Jack said yesterday when we talked about this, they got a 4th-round pick. But, to get something out of nothing, they didn't get anything they wanted. You didn't watch the Colorado game yesterday.
Yeah, Shedeur did not look good.
No, he played an efficient game. I think he played a pretty efficient game. It's just that they couldn't run the ball. He didn't throw any exceptions, threw 3 touchdowns. And Shedeur is the guy, but I just think that Shedeur is not he's not in NFL yet. He's just a projection. He's just someone. Would I give up 3 first-rounders for him? No.
No. For Trey Lance, in reality, they gave up 2 extra number 1s because they got Dean.
Right.
He was a number 1. They got back for him, but
right.
It's worth 2 extra number 1s. But then think of it this way. That's basically 2 extra number 1s are like giving up 2 extra players, and you never know how good those 2 extra players are going to be. You think they'll probably be good because you're picking very early, getting really talented guys. But if you can get a franchise quarterback, that's like gold. That sets you up for a good decade. And to me, it's worth a gamble. I like Shedeur Sanders a lot. I really like him a lot. He's so mobile and he can run. So that's, if it's just a pocket quarterback, that would be one thing. But he creates plays. That's the thing I like about him. And I think he would be worth it. So I think the front office is getting back with the Giants. I get the feeling that they're tanking it now. I mean, you hear Dexter Lawrence is unhappy. The other guys in the locker room are unhappy. And it's an ugly situation, and I don't think Shine and DeBall, they have it in their head. Of course, listen, Brian DeBall's going to coach to win. Don't misunderstand me. If they win games, he's not going to be sad about it because he's a competitor. But then again, they understand that, it benefits them to keep losing as well.
Yeah, it's pretty rough out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to our next game. Cowboys versus Commanders. They're playing in Washington. Cowboys are 3-7. Cooper Rush is starting the game. Again, Brandon Cooks is back, so they have another wide receiver. And but Martin, their guard, is out, and they got poor run defense. And I look for Jaden Daniels and Brian Robinson to just flourish in this game. I like the Commanders to win big. What do you think, Jack?
Well, Cooper Rush a couple of years ago was like 5-1 when he started as a backup and Prescott went out. He hasn't been good this year. He hasn't been good as a backup. I mean, the Cowboys have just played poorly. I kind of wonder if they just lost it, basically, as a team, kind of lost their way. Guys like Zach Martin are getting a little older. They didn't make the offseason moves. And you kind of wonder the enthusiasm level. The tackling hasn't been good. Micah Parsons is going on and on how talented and good they are. But, look at them perform on the field. It's you talk about the biggest lightning rods. I mean, you guys on the show never mentioned Micah Parsons. He goes on and on and on. And I feel like telling him to shut up, You got to show some leadership there or something, or try to rally a team. And today's going to be kind of a little bit revealing. If the Cowboys show up and they beat the Commanders in Washington, they make a little bit of a statement that they might be relevant the rest of the season. I'm not saying go to the playoffs, make that type of comeback, but all of a sudden they'll show us, hey, they're still talented. They could still maybe do something with the remaining time left in the season, but I don't anticipate them winning in Washington. And if it gets ugly, if they lose badly, like by 3 touchdowns, I mean, the Dallas soap opera with Jerry Jones, it's going to take a bad twist again.
Sonya, hold on, to piggyback off of what, I know you want to say something about the Carolina. Yeah. Go ahead.
He got some nerve. If you guys were better, you would have won. Sit down somewhere. Y'all lost and y'all garbage, and you gonna continue to be garbage. The Giants are nothing but the Tinies. And go ahead and lose on out so y'all can try to get that first round pick, because we still playing ball over here.
Yeah.
You tell him. Look, Sonya, to piggyback off of what Jack just said regarding Micah Parsons, I know Draymond Green has his own podcast and he talks a lot of trash, but he does this while they're winning. If you're someone in a situation where you're in the Cowboys and you're 3-7 and you lose your game, you're losing, and you go straight to podcast and start talking, should you really be doing that? I mean, should you just pull your team in the locker room and say, this is what we're supposed to do? We need to cut social media out. We need to focus on winning. We were 12-5 the last four seasons. Why can't we do that now? I mean, what happened? Why did the wheels fall off? Let's try to figure this out. He's saying we're still a good team, but like Jack said, the proof is in the pudding. There's nothing there that suggests that you're any good at all. I mean, totally opposite of what you're saying. I mean, evidence is there. So what do you think about that?
I mean, right now, I feel, and this is no disrespect, because trust me, my team has its own situation. But I think right now the players are just as delusional as the fan base. This is who Dallas is. I think Dan Lanning said it best. Clicks and likes. That's all they care about. I mean, they're putting out videos right now. I was looking at some videos yesterday. It's bad when during the game they're already putting up posts on their social medias. I'm talking about fans saying, this is just who we are. Before y'all say anything, we don't like Dak, But if Dak was 12-5, y'all still like him. But as soon as he's losing and now he's out, Dak is whack and all those comments. It's just trying to save face because every year this is their year. And let's be honest, they probably already got their next 5 years of hashtags of this is our year already ready to go on social media. It's clicks and likes. They do need to pull it back. We talk about this all the time. This is an era where everybody is so social media and AI driven that they pull away from the natural talent and enjoyment of what the sport is supposed to be. Everybody is always, even the schedule is AI generated when you're matching up opponents. It just takes the enjoyment out when you're removing so much of the human natural element for it. And so I think this is one of the situations they do need to shut it down. They almost need to put one of these barriers up when you come into the training facility that you don't even got a phone signal. You don't even got a phone signal. Let's take it back to the 80s when nobody had cell phones. That's the last time they, look competitive to the 80s and the 90s. Let's take it back to that and remove all the outside noise. Focus on what's in the locker room, focus on the nucleus, and try to pull it together. Like Jack said, they were 5-1. Cooper Rush was playing last time. What is going on? But my main thing is they got rid of some people that they should not have gotten rid of in the offseason. They should not have gotten rid of Gallup. First of all, his name is an indicator of a horse, of a cowboy. So, that's the mantra they needed. You got rid of Gallup. Come on, bro. And poor Jerry. They're keeping a defibrillator in their bags right now when they walk behind him because I'm afraid, Jerry is he looks stressed. Like the ownership of that team has got to be a lot. Jerry, you've made your money. You've paid this young lady off for child support from 60 years ago that you've got.
Oh, come on, we can't. Come on.
And he needs to just focus on retiring and enjoying the game and enjoying his money. Like, you don't have to continue to be hands-on with this team to enjoy the game. You made your money. Let someone else that's able to go out and get talent and manage everything do what they need to do best.
Sonia, the last 3 seasons before this, they were 12-5 each season. 12-5. They're having a bad year this year. Everyone was ready to jump on Jerry even in the off season. They only didn't get it done in the playoffs. They suffered a terrible loss to the Packers in the playoffs. Everyone was stunned. Dallas fully expected to win that game. No one could see that coming, that type of loss. And all of a sudden, Jerry doesn't know what he's doing. He knew what he was doing the last 3 years. I mean, look at their record. He's an easy mark, Jerry Jones, to say just get rid of him. He doesn't know this. He doesn't know that. But compare the job the Cowboys have done to other teams. Compare them to other teams over the years. You could say Jerry's been an average GM if you want. You could say he's been a little better than average, maybe a little worse. That would be fair. But don't make him out to be a disaster. Oh, get rid of him. He's ruining the Cowboys. Because the Cowboys have had success during the regular seasons. They haven't been able to get it done during the playoffs.
So let's be clear. I didn't say get rid of him. I said he needs to be more hands off and he needs to turn the team over for management. He's the owner.
He shouldn't be hands off if you're the owner. If you're the owner, you should be involved. If I own the team, I would be involved.
Do you see what has happened since Tepper has taken over in Carolina? That's the prime example of horrible ownership.
No, you have to have trust in your people to a point, and let them do their jobs. But once in a while, as the owner, you're fully entitled to overrule them. Like in the case of the Giants, they should have overruled signing the ball and said, no, we're signing Saquon Barkley. I want him to be a career Giant. You work out the contract details. You get the deal done. I want him here. And if they talk back to me as the owner, I go, no, this is what I want. Get it done. And what are they going to tell me? Well, then I'm going to quit. And I'll tell them the door's over there. You're going to get quit if you want. You're
like
not
Aaron Rodgers.
You're gone. Aaron Rodgers hasn't quit.
Like your quarterback. He don't want to play no more.
What is Aaron
Ladies
Rodgers
and gentlemen, before we get sidetracked here, let's just mediate this and say Jerry Jones probably should step down as the GM, but remain the owner. Remain owner. Obviously, you don't get rid of him there, but he's done a lot there, and he's had success. but he's probably getting a little older. He should relinquish that job to somebody else. And then we should move on. Let's move on to the next game. Let's go to the Lions and the Colts. Lions are 9-1. Colts are 5-6. Anthony Richardson played a really good game against the Jets, Jack. He ran 2 touchdowns, threw for 266 and passed one, and they won 28-27. That's a pretty close game. Does he do this, Jack? Does he do the same thing against the Colts? Against the Lions?
No. He used his legs. He played well. There was a couple of breakdowns in the Jets secondary, which allowed him, to hit wide open receivers as well. I mean, but I give him his due. He played well all in all against the Jets. Kudos to him. But this is the Detroit Lions. Going to throw a pretty fierce defense, at him. And their defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, he's going to be a prime head coaching candidate in the NFL next season. Because if I'm a team and I'm looking to hire a head coach, 2 candidates stand out. Number 1 to me would be Brian Flores. Number 2 would be Aaron Glenn. But I'd probably hire Aaron Glenn ahead of Brian Flores because Brian Flores is a wimp with his lawsuits and all that. Who needs that baggage that he's bringing? If I ever have to let go of Brian Flores, what is he going to do? Try to sue me, accuse me of certain character issues? I mean, I didn't like that. And his handling of Tua at Miami with Tua is a very quiet, humble guy. And if he's saying how terribly he was coached, by Brian Flores, that does carry weight with me to a point. But Brian Flores, maybe he's matured. And I think Brian Flores would actually be a good fit as the Giant coach if that ever opened up. So with that said, the Detroit Lions, they're the best team in football right now. They're the best team in football. The question is, can anyone trip them up in the playoffs? And for that to happen, one of the teams who's good now is going to have to get even better. They're going to have to peak and be really good come playoff time and play the type of game to beat the Lions. I have my eye on my Super Bowl pick at the beginning of the year. Green Bay has been capable enough to improve as the year goes along, and then when they meet in the playoffs, maybe upset the Lions. But right now, the Lions. So according to your power rankings that I'm not looking at, I'm certain the Lions are number 1 there, clearly.
I'll double check that. Thank you, Jack. Let me look now.
And Sonia, why you
thanks for trusting in something I have to say.
Yeah.
Sonia, your honorary adoptive team, Sonia, is the Lions.
Yeah.
And so Jack just mentioned that Aaron Glenn and Brian Flores are the top picks for coaches' jobs next year. But offensively, the Lions are just firing on all cylinders, and you got to give credit to Ben Johnson. So do you think Ben Johnson is probably a top candidate as well? And do the Lions, another question, do the Lions just continue to roll against the Colts again?
Well, Ben Johnson could have been a head coach. He wanted to stay as the coordinator.
I can't even get my answer out. I thought he said Sonia. Jack, your time has expired. I'm so sorry for right now. I know your first name starts with a J-A and mine ends with a J-A, but he did say Son in first of it. Yeah. Go ahead, Jack.
No. The play continues when the final buzzer goes off. The play's in motion and the clock hits 0. I'm talking, the play continues on until the play comes in. Or penalty doesn't end the game, and you were offside, Sonia, so I got another play.
I'll just wait then. Go ahead, Jack. You got it.
I got a penalty, Jack, for delay a game. Please, Jack. Delay a game. I got to delay a game. Please go ahead, Sonia.
So to answer your question, every year we see a team that's doing really good. The first thing that teams look for is like, oh my gosh, that's a great offensive coordinator. He's gonna make it. Like they literally speak after offensive coordinators a lot. And I think that this is just one of the things that maybe Johnson is just happy where he is. He sees the success. He will be sought after. And I did check these power rankings. Absolutely. Detroit, D-Twizzle. The Lions are roaring at number 1. And it doesn't even matter who's number 2. But because number 2 doesn't count. Shout out to Austin Powers. It's actually the Chiefs. And then the Buffalo Bills are right behind them. And the Eagles and the Steelers are at number 5, despite losing to the Browns in that snow fest the other day. But I will say, definitely going to be sought after. I don't think he's going to leave. I'm going to tell you the reason why. If they say they don't win the Super Bowl, but they go all the way, he's probably going to stay because they got to run it back. Like they want this is their second year looking very good. They've never had a Super Bowl appearance, let alone get there and lose. So he's going to probably have some type of loyalty to that organization just because they're doing so well. And if they do go to the Super Bowl and win, then they're going to be probably trying to pay him a little extra moolah because he got them there. Steve-O is saying, where are the Ravens? I don't know. I went through the top 5, Steve-O. And since you had that comment earlier talking about comparing to Carolina, why don't you look up where the Ravens are on your stats, sir?
So you're both telling me that Ben Johnson, if some team comes to him and offer him, they pull up the Brink truck and offer him a load of money, he's not going to take it. The temptation is not going to be there at all to leave. I understand he's comfortable with his family where he's at. Everybody's good, and they're paying. I think he's the highest paid offensive coordinator. But you can only make so much as an offensive coordinator. Sometimes you got to take the reins as a head coach, at least see where you are. I mean, maybe he's not comfortable in that leadership role. I don't know. Maybe that's the case, but I'm just thinking that at some point somebody's going to offer him a lot of money, and he's going to take the position at somewhere, and it might be this season.
Yeah, but keep in mind these respected coordinators, when they become head coaches, it's a whole different thing, completely different. So who knows how successful, he would be if he went elsewhere. I mean, just look at the Jets situation. Robert Saleh, highly respected defensive coordinator, the 49ers. Okay, 49ers had an outstanding defense on them. He comes to the Jets. I have to tell you what happened. Brian Daboll, successful, offensive coordinator with the Bills. The work he did with Josh Allen there, so on. He comes to the Giants, the offense, what's it been?
We know what happened with Salah. We know exactly what happened. They need to rehire that man back. The pansy went in there. The pansy is the reason why he's not with Green Bay. I mean, the Jets. The pansy is the reason for that.
I mean, get off it. Yes, Aaron Rodgers had nothing to do with the Jet defense being disappointed.
J-Train, no, we're not going back down this path.
Let's not drag it. They're not even playing today, so let's
exactly. They're trying to keep them relevant.
The Jets are not losing this week.
Yeah, that's true.
They're losing even on their bye week.
You can all agree that the Jets aren't losing this week. Next game will be the Vikings versus the Bears. Vikings are 8-2. Bears are 4-6. I mentioned, Jack, the Bears were 2-4 in one possession games this year, so the games were very close. Like you said, it can be deceiving. But after the Shane Waldron firing, they looked a lot better last game against Green Bay. Do you think that they can upset the Vikings at home?
Yeah, I said so before. I think they're actually going to do it. Something about Minnesota bothers me. Like I said, they're a good team, but they can be had. And Sam Darnold's been a real good fit for the Vikings this year, like I expected, like I predicted. But they got him all the weapons, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, et cetera, et cetera. They have a pretty good defense. Chicago's kind of like a little dysfunctional at times, But, I got to trust the Bears going to play hard. They have a really good fan base there. They're certainly... Matt Eberflus, his, job security's in jeopardy there at Chicago, as well. And some of these coaches whose job's in jeopardy, like Matt Nagy, when he was the Bear coach, got let go. but he was picked up by Kansas City to be the offensive coordinator. And if he's good enough to be the offensive coordinator at Kansas City, he's got to be a decent coach. I mean, the coaching carousel seems to go in a circle. But with that said, if you're looking for an upset today, I think the Bears over the Vikings could be, a prime upset to pick.
Sonia, I mean, the Bears are at home, and it seems that they have a really good fan base there as well. But they are on a pretty bad losing streak here, and ever since that Hail Mary, the wheels seem to just fall off. They fired their offensive coordinator. They got Thomas Brown, who's the new offensive coordinator, and the Vikings have a really good defense. They got Aaron Jones. They need to just run the ball. And it's going to be a ground and pound. I think the game's going to be close, but I picked the Vikings. Who do you think is going to win this game?
Yeah, it's definitely the Vikings. The Bears are a mess. They've been declawed. That Hail Mary was just the beginning of their exposure. We always have these teams that get exposed, and it's almost like once that exposure hits, they're just not the same now. A lot of people thought coming off that Hail Mary, I mean, those guys didn't even know the game was even still going on when that play happened. In fact, they were assisted with the score, because of it. It wasn't just a Hail Mary. It was the fact that nobody was where they were supposed to be. And by the time it was realized, it was too late and it was tipped in. And so they basically, it's almost like an NBA game. They assisted, but, on the opposite team. And so you could just see the frustration. I mean, Caleb Williams looks just, I don't know, like he's got gas. He looks very disgruntled. Almost in a state, and it's almost like a mental checkout when you see quarterbacks, and I've seen it with my own team, even when we were winning with Cam Newton. I've seen the mental checkout, the behavior on the sideline, the sideline arguments amongst players. I mean, I've seen that on the Bears sideline. That's when okay, wait a minute. This is going beyond just, hey, can we make a touchdown? Can we get a first down? Can our defense solidly do it? Can our O-line protect? It's beyond that. And once you get that far down the road, past the play, into the personalities and the problems, more P's, then there's no coming back from that. It could be the Vikings they're playing. It could be, I'm going to tell you like this. Even though Chicago has already played, the Panthers in times past, and the Panthers look a certain way, that team that's playing today, as bad as the Panthers are playing, the Panthers may just actually honestly straight out win that game because the Bears look like they're so disorganized from every aspect. So this is just not just on Caleb Williams, but just overall. The Vikings, Sam Darnold looked really good at the early onset. He had a game that he had like 5 interceptions and still was able to win the game. So he's not playing at top caliber, but it's good old Sam Darnold. We get about 5 wins on average from him anyway with every team, Jets, Panthers, and I think he's coming into that. This game is messy. It's an NFC North matchup. It's another divisional matchup. It could be a trap game because maybe Caleb has a wake-up call and realizes, okay, wait a minute. We're losing our division, and we've got to turn it around now. But it's highly unlikely. This game is at Soldier Field. It's going to really – Chicago's going to have to be that defensive team that they used to normally be to try to get this game under control. And if not, it's going to be a game that's going to run away. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be a close game regardless, maybe about 5 points or less. I don't know what the point spread is. But I definitely got the Vikings on this one. And Steve-O, thanks for the flag on the play for me. I appreciate it. He said my chat was wrong about checking him about Carolina, but they keep coming for me, Jack. And
no, they didn't have the Bears a defensive breakdown against Washington. It was one player that screwed up. Tyreek.
You're right, because it was a very good game up to that point.
No, Tyreek Stevenson lost the game for the Bears at the end with that last play. Not only was he not paying attention, and the Bear fans had to alert him the play was going on, but then he runs back in the play late and panics and slaps the ball to the Washington receiver. And again, they could have won against Green Bay at home if they made the field goal. But you're right, Sonia, about Caleb Williams. The jury's still out. I think a lot has to do maturity issues with him as well. I mean, he's a gamer. He's got tremendous heart and he's got tremendous confidence. That's the good thing. But does he have the leadership, to bring the guys around? That's the big question.
Yep.
And it seems there's dissension, in the Bear locker room. They have to sit him down. When the vets have to sit down a young player like that and start educating them, that's a bad sign.
They're always saying bear down. They better bear down in that locker room and get it together.
Yeah, you look at the other young quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels reportedly is loved by his teammates. Drake May is going to be he's kind of taking a leadership role at New England. Bo Nix has fit in beautifully there with Denver. But Caleb Williams is a bit of a lightning rod, but he's got tremendous talent, and he has played a few pretty good games this year. So we don't know what Caleb Williams is eventually going to become. He might become the next Jameis Winston, and Jameis Winston might still be capable of starting in the NFL. I'm not writing him off as a bust, but it didn't live up to expectations. Jameis Winston is the number 1 overall choice in the draft. That's what I
Correct.
mean. And I think he could be another Jameis Winston, or he could be a darn good quarterback. We just don't know with the guy. But let me ask both of you this. If the draft was done over and the Bears could have a do-over, would they draft, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, or whatever, or Drake May ahead of Caleb?
I think Jaden Daniels would have been number 1. I just think, but sometimes so many factors have to go into place. To me, organizationally, who knows if Jaden Daniels will still have the success that he's having in Washington because of how bad Chicago is so dysfunctional. And then their offensive line is I think the offensive line of the Commanders is a lot better than that of Chicago. So,
and they've gotten Dan Quinn in, Dan Quinn, who was a winning coach at one time, who went down to be a DC. Now he's back to the head coach position. Dan Quinn was a winning coach, so he knows the formula to get that done. But we see this all the time. A quarterback could be with one organization and be one way, and be with another organization and be a completely different way. It's just no rhyme or reason. And we see these draft picks move up, like JJ McCarthy moved up to the top 10, and of course he's sitting pretty somewhere, learning the plays. But everybody does not play the same when they come in. And I'm always asked the question, about Bryce and CJ Stroud. But now CJ Stroud this year looks more atypical of a quarterback that's just coming in and learning the plays. We just don't know what Jaden Daniels would look like, say, with the Texans or anywhere. And so you have teams that are having to look back. Like, it's always a hindsight rule. You never can say what somebody's going to do in that particular situation or with that franchise until they get there.
Well, you look at your team, the Panthers, living proof of that. And I don't mean this as a dig at all.
No, I know.
Mayfield and Sam Darnold. They couldn't cut it as starting quarterbacks with the Panthers. They had no success. And now both of them are starters. Mayfield for the Buccaneers. He's their franchise quarterback. Darnold is probably going to move on from the Vikings. But there's a reasonable chance maybe a team like Tennessee signs him, for him to be their quarterback.
Players always leave Carolina and flourish. We say that because Carolina just can't seem to get their organizational structure down. Everybody I know, every player I know within the last couple of seasons that has gone elsewhere, including Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore in Chicago, has flourished. It's literally like you got to look at the whole picture. It's not the player specifically, it's the organization.
Yeah. Well, now that we mentioned that, let's move on. We mentioned Bo Nix. You mentioned him earlier about whether or not quarterbacks are having success or these young rookies are having success versus Caleb Williams. Well, Bo Nix is having a great amount of success as of late. And I thought the jury was still out for him. I didn't think he was going to be that good when he first got drafted because I remember seeing him in the SEC. He wasn't good with Auburn, and I thought it was just an easy way out over there in the Pac-10 or Pac-12 when he played for Oregon. But Sean Payton's got a hold on this guy, and he's looking really good with them. They have a really good defense that gets him the ball, multiple opportunities, they get turnovers. And I don't think it's going to be any different against the Raiders. the Raiders are just another team. We mentioned dysfunction. It seems like the same thing's happening there, and I don't see them getting a win, even in Las Vegas. I think the Broncos go there and win by a great deal. And Jack, what do you think about that game?
I think Sean Payton can have success with just about any quarterback. I really do. Even last year with Russell Wilson, he improved Russell Wilson over what he was his first year at Denver without Sean Payton. So Russell Wilson wasn't that bad last year. He just wasn't Sean Payton's guy going forward. You know, the contract, the whole thing. And I think a number of these guys, I think, you know, if a Bryce Young had went to Denver under Sean Payton, he would have been a lot better off than what he's been now. You know, so, and he's just a darn good coach. I mean, I judge coaches by having their team in the mix year after year, and that's been Sean Payton's history. He's had teams in the mix, always in contention. You might say, well, he's won only one Super Bowl. It's hard to win a Super Bowl. There are 32 teams there. But if you have your team in the mix year after year, but today's game with the Raiders, I kind of look for defensive struggle, you know, in a sense. I'm not sold on Bo Nix being this great quarterback, but he is the Bronco franchise quarterback going forward. Okay? Denver should win, but I think it's going to be a close game. Denver's favored by 5.5. I could see the Raiders covering this game. I think a nibble at the Raiders would be a good thing, you know, to cover the points, even though I could see Denver winning like a 17-14 type game.
I mean, Jack, of all people, myself, I really had Bo Nix at the bottom of the list of all the quarterbacks. And in the first round, he was the last one to be drafted.
Yeah.
But he's throwing to guys like Lil Jordan Humphrey and Jerry Jeudy, who's had a resurgence with him. He looks to be the part. I mean, he's got decent receivers. I mean, the Cortland Sutton is there. That's their number one guy. Sean, like you said, Sean Payton has really put his hold on him. And Bo Nix is not afraid to back. He didn't back down to Sean Payton. When Sean Payton got in his face, he got right back in his face, right back at him. And I think Sean likes that. Sean looks at like, okay, this kid's got got a good spot, whatever you want to call it. I mean, he's got some, you know, I can't say it on air, but you know what I mean.
Chutzpah, different personalities. Maybe Sean Payton understands I can only push this guy so far. You know, right. I can deal with him behind closed doors. We get along fine, but I can't yell at this guy at the sideline. You know, he makes mistakes. But, you know, according to Bo Nix, he gets along really great with Sean Payton. That's just this personality to fire back words. It's not like, remember that sideline scene when Bill Parcells told Phil Simms like to get away, basically? You know, other players will argue back. You know, it all depends. You wouldn't expect that out of a rookie with Bo Nix, but in a way that could be a good thing, you know, that he's pushing back. I don't know. What do you think, Sam?
Good morning, Carolyn, and go Panthers. I'm right behind you with church. As soon as this show wraps up, I'll be on my way. So, go Panthers. That's right, Miss Carolyn. Yeah, I think the same thing, Jack. You know, Bo Nix is actually a surprise to me. But people were saying, you know, before he even got in the draft, hey, that's Sean Payton's kind of guy. I think it's a happy situation for them because I was telling J-Train the other day, Sean Payton gets a fresh, new quarterback that he can shape and mold and mentor into the person he wants him to be, as opposed to getting, you know, Russell Wilson, who comes with his own experience. And, you know, they're basically in the same age bracket. And, you know, he's kind of like bend, don't break mentality. Whereas you got this eager kid, basically, for lack of a better explanation, an eager kid that's excited about being in the league, that's just very grateful to be here because he knows how competitive it is to get in the NFL, as opposed to a veteran quarterback that's like, you know, I belong here. I've earned my time here. And then you have a personality conflict, not to mention the differences of style of play. Sean Payton and what he has done with Bo Nix is outstanding, even to this point for Denver. We've seen them go real high-powered offense. And it does, even though it's early on and people don't want him to be compared to Drew Brees, it is very Drew Brees-ish when you look back. It's almost like a flashback in time but just with a different, a different young player. So I'm glad for Bo Nix. I didn't see this at all. Like J Train said, I didn't see him flourishing to where he is. And he may, go today and start losing the rest of the season, and we have a different perspective. But what he's shown us as far as what he looks like, his stats, they look pretty solid compared to him with other rookies that are coming in that are not flourishing as much. And to see that he's literally standing in the gap for that offense.
Yeah.
So
No, you make a good point, but with Drew Brees, he was an established quarterback with the San Diego Chargers when he went to New Orleans. But still, Sean Payton did a great job with Drew Brees. Also, what's slipping under the radar too, one of the backup quarterbacks at Denver, Zach Wilson. So if Zach Wilson gets in the game and he really performs, lights out, we'll go, wow. I mean, that's on Sean Payton. I'd love to see that happen.
there's a possibility. Unfortunately, would hate to see. It would have to be an injury. Unfortunately, I don't wish that on any player.
No, I don't want to see it in the reality, but it would say a lot about Sean Payton. If Zach Wilson had to step in for an extended period of time. I mean, they'd be the primary backup because they have Jason Stidham now, I believe, who's a career
No
back.
one sold on him. He has not done well in the league at all.
No, but if they do well with Denver and they get in, if for any reason, that would say a lot, about Sean Payton.
Absolutely. Now
You
let's
were
put that on.
asking what I thought about the Broncos game, J Train.
I was going to say, who's your pick for this? And I was going to flip the question. We talk a lot about the Broncos. Let's go to the opposite of the Raiders. They're 2-8. I mean, or do they continue to remain losing? And then obviously we mentioned the Giants in the front running for Shedeur Sanders or the quarterback out of Miami, but they're looking for a quarterback as well in Las Vegas. And what do you think they do? Do you think they win this game, or do you think continue spiraling downward and in the runnings for the top number overall pick?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think the Raiders are deliberately trying to go down for the number one pick. I think they really are scrambling for their lives. They're literally trying to hold on to the fragments of the locker room, which has been shifty all season, even before Devontae Adams left. I think that just added to it. Antonio Pierce is definitely scrambling not to be cut before the season's over with. I mean, it's a week to week with him. And Jack did call it right, and I will give him props on this because I was just like, oh, Antonio Pierce is the coach of that. No, I was wrong, Jack. You were right. These interim coaches come in, win 3 games in a row, and we're like, yes, there they are. But it's because these teams have lost 8 in a row that they're just so happy to see 3 in a row games win that they're just like, yes, that's it. No, he's not it. The locker room is all over the place. They're 2-8. They lose this game not because they don't want to play and they don't want to win. It's just the fact that it's freaking Denver and Bo Nix and Sean Payton, who is an experienced coach, and sometimes experience outweighs performance. Antonio Pierce has only been a full-time NFL coach for 1 year. Sean Payton's got like 50 years. I mean, he came out the womb being a coach. And so sometimes it's about, experience trumps everything. Sean Payton is playing chess while Antonio Pierce is playing checkers. And that's what happens with today's game. Even in Las Vegas, they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but not in the case of the Broncos. This is another rivalry, a big rivalry. Broncos and Raiders, and this may be a blowout. You may see the Broncos put up 45 today.
Ooh.
Maybe 7. I think it's going to be pretty bad. Honestly.
Wow.
Please feel free to look at that. It's probably about 45-7 final score.
I think the Broncos win, but I think a close game. I don't see a blowout. The Broncos don't have that type of firepower. But if they do blow them out, and it's possible you're going to be correct, it would be because the Ravens, I think, have just fallen apart.
Who do they have, though? Like, seriously,
Not
who do the
Raiders,
have that are good? That could put up any points. I'm just trying to mentally think, who do they have on that field that I know can go out there and make this a competitive game?
Well, who's starting for the Raiders, Gordon?
That's my point. No one.
Yes.
Who, J. Trey?
Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, and who's your running back? Who's your wide receiver? Like these people are just, I'm not sold on them.
They're in shambles. So
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, if it happens, I wouldn't be surprised if the 45-7 game happens. But let's move on to a better
Brissett
game.
is starting. Steve-O said Jacoby Brissett is starting today.
Wait, he's with New
He
England.
played for the Patriots.
That's what I was like. What is he talking about?
Yeah, come on.
Steve-O, what are you talking about, brother?
He fell asleep and woke up.
Let's go with the Cards versus the Seahawks. Earlier, Keith talked about the 12th man. I don't think the 12th man has its luster as it used to when they had the Legion of Boom. It's just not.
Mention the 12th man.
Yeah, you did too. Yes, I just don't think it's. I don't think it has its luster anymore. Like the way clearly they're 5-5, and they lost the last 5 or 6 games. They had a bye. They're coming off a bye. I think the Cardinals are just red hot, and I don't think when they get up to Seattle, I don't think the Hawks are going to have anything to stop them, especially Kyler Murray. I mean, he's thrown for 2,000 yards, got 12 TDs, he's rushed for 371. He's got 4 TDs rushing. Man, and you mentioned, is he talking about the wide receiver for?
Yeah, wide receiver Jacoby.
Oh,
maybe I'm saying it wrong. Jacoby.
For what
the Raiders.
Raiders. Oh, okay, gotcha.
I don't even know who that is.
None of that matters for the Raiders. I like the Cardinals in this, and I like them probably to win, maybe by 2 touchdowns. What do you think, Jack?
I'm gonna go with Seattle. I mean, I love the way they came back against the 49ers, and kudos to Geno Smith last week leading that drive. I'm not sold on the Cardinals. They look good a couple of weeks, then they look so. I mean, and that division is very, very tight. I mean, the Cardinals in first place at 6-4, Niners 5-5, Seahawks at 5-5. Rams, etc. It's a toss-up game. It's Seattle. I don't see Arizona going into Seattle and showing any type of domination. I think it comes down to a field goal there. I'll go with the Seahawks to win like 26-23.
And Sonia, what do you think?
I love Jack. He gives like these just like, yeah, I'll just give it up. It's just so funny. I love he's just so like nonchalant about it. Like, yeah, if they do, they do.
Well, we got to do. We got to look at the previous week picks. So how bad we picked. Everyone looks good before it's decided.
Right. This is Geno Smith. Let's be clear. Geno's, I mean, he's not playing like perfect, but he's playing. This game is in Seattle. But then you got to look at how good Kyler Murray's been playing. I think this may be a game where the Cardinals go in there and get it done because they are just playing like really well right now. It's not about lights out or high offense. They're just playing good football. They're managing the clock. They're managing their even their penalties. They literally are just playing calculated football. And sometimes football can be a mental game just as much as it is physical. You got to know the plays. You got to kind of get in the head of your opponent. And I think that if the Cardinals can go in there, this is the battle of the birds, Cardinals and Hawks, if they can go in there and they can stay in the mindset of their opponent, they can read those plays before they see them coming. They can read the eyes of Geno Smith when he's about to make these passes. This may come down to a defensive matchup where the Cardinals defense may be the reason why they beat the Hawks in this game. So I still have the Cardinals. Now that game I would say will be a close game. It's probably going to come down to the last few seconds and a field goal, if not less, for the win.
Okay, cool. Let's go on to the Patriots and the Dolphins game. This is a game where you got Tua Tagovailoa in the game now. He's playing, and the Patriots got Drake. Man, he's been looking impressive as a rookie. But I like the Dolphins to make a run here. They're trying to make a last-ditch effort to get to the playoffs, and they're 4-6 right now. So they have no choice but to try to win. I think everybody's backs against the wall here, but I like the Dolphins to win this game. I don't think it'll be like a blowout, but they have all the weapons offensively, and the Patriots they're just having a tough year right now. You got to take advantage. I think a lot of the Dolphins' losses came when Tua was out of the game, and when he had the concussion. they should be able to win this. They had a really good win against the Rams not too long ago in the Rams home, and I think they should win this one at home as well. They should win this one at home. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I think the Dolphins will win. I think it'll be a close game. Again, the question with New England is Drake May's development. You know, the fan base, if they lose the game something like 24-20, where Drake May plays pretty well, you know, they take something out of it. And you're right about the Dolphins. You get the feeling they're going to make a playoff run. This is it for them. If they stumble against New England and they lose, they're not going to be a playoff, you know, contender. But if they win this game, you know, they go to 5-6, and maybe they got a flame going. Maybe the momentum is there, you know, to get it done. And we thought with Cincinnati they'd make a playoff, you know, push, and it never just quite happened. They stumbled, and I think Miami wins. You know, they're playing at home, Miami. How much of an advantage that is playing, you know, at Hard Rock Stadium. I don't think it's that much of an advantage, but I think Miami is ready to make, you know, like you said, their playoff push. And this would be their third win in a row if they win today. So they really have something going.
Sonia, Drake May has looked really good in his last few games here, particularly the last game. Do you think they have what it takes to knock the Dolphins off their playoff push here in this game and in Miami?
The game is in Miami. Tua, you know, is still trying to play because the calls are still going around for him to be, you know, sat down for a little bit. Like there's the fans and the organization are saying he's just not playing like he normally would. I mean, he's a different Tua. He's had a concussion, not the first concussion. And so that started to affect his play. I always kind of like to give the home team advantage with this. It's one of those situations that I still feel the same way because Drake May, even though he looks good, this is the Patriots. This is Drake May's rookie season. And I just feel like that Miami's going to protect their turf, no pun intended, or surf. They're going to protect their turf. And so I think that this game is not going to be one that everybody's excited to watch. I'm going to be honest. It's just not the same. And so, of course, Fins fans will watch it. I don't even know if Pats fans will really tune in that much because this game is literally like from north to south. Got to make that trip on a short weekend, whatever. And I just feel like this game, it could go really either way. It's kind of difficult to choose because both teams are just not that good this year. But in the end, I guess maybe it's 7 points. Miami may win by a touchdown. What's the point spread on it?
Miami is -3, I believe.
They're -3. -3.
Let me see. Miami's -7.5.
So that's about right. I said 7. So there you go.
Yeah. So we got 2 more games to cover. I think we're about 8 minutes left.
Yep.
Let's go with the Titans versus the Texans. The Texans are 7-4. Titans are 2-8. Both have really stout defenses. They're going to play in Texas, though. I just think the biggest difference, even though the quarterback is having a little bit of a sophomore slump, Joe Mixon has really been doing really well. That they've been utilizing him as a great running back there. I think Texans win this game at home, and then they got Nico Collins back. Like Keith said earlier, he's a big difference at receiver, and you saw it when he played the last game. I just think they win this game. They might win by a touchdown or 2. Jack?
Yeah, that's a big
Yeah. Texans should win, but the Titans defense has been stingy this year.
Mm-hmm.
They played hard, and there's no reason to believe they won't play hard at Houston. Houston should win the game, something like 23-15 thereabouts. And the Titans' trouble is they've been struggling on offense. And we talk about the few teams who are going to be in the running, for the number 1 pick. The quarterback situation, Shedeur Sanders. The Titans are certainly one of the few who are there, and they are going to draft a quarterback because they have to address their quarterback situation. I don't see them putting their faith in Will Levis going forward. But Houston should win this game, but it's not going to be a blowout.
Sonia, you think Will Levis has any chance to help win this game and win the confidence of the Titans to be able to keep him at quarterback and not draft another quarterback next season?
Gosh, you read my mind. I was literally going to talk about not only the game, but Will Levis may not be the starting quarterback next season. Titans are going to be looking to tighten up. I mean, that's their adage, and everybody gets sick of losing. This game is going to be on the road. Like you said, CJ Stroud got Mixon down there. That's a big tool for him. D'Amico Ryan's just really getting it done. He knows how to coach, basically. Tennessee's still in that, like, every year is a rebuild. It's very difficult to have a new quarterback and a new coach at the same time and be able to be successful. I mean, teams do it. We see it with D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud, but again, this is a divisional. And not only that, I think that the Titans already have their super sleuths out looking for their next quarterback. Will Levis may be taking a back seat next season.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, last game, we got the Ravens versus the Chargers in LA. I think we talked about a little bit about this earlier, but I like the Ravens to go. I think Jack mentioned that this is one of his picks. I like the Ravens too to win this one and to cover. Even in LA, they both have really good defense. I think the Ravens have pretty bad pass defense, and that might open the door for Justin Herbert to expose that. But I just like both Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry to get it done offensively with the run, and I think they squeak out a win here. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going with the Chargers in this game. I mean, it's going to be a tight game going down to the wire. I sometimes judge teams on hangovers. If they've had a truly big matchup the week before, what might be. And I know I'm being a bit of a hypocrite because I mentioned with the Chiefs saying they're going to beat the Panthers easy. They have to have a hangover, the Chiefs, losing to the Bills. So maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe, No, I'm just giving an example. And the Ravens.
Use the Jets as an example. Use the Jets as an example. Stick with the Jets.
4 minutes, 4 minutes.
So I'm going to go with the Chargers and the squeaker, very, very close game here. And the Ravens are one of these teams, they're going to get into the playoffs as a wild card, but look out for them as a wild card. Some of these wild card teams are extremely dangerous, and they're going to be a major danger to whoever they play.
I agree. What do you think, Sonia, about this game?
First of all, it's always fun over here with Jack. So anybody that's watching, this is just how we do. I love Jack. Jack is my friend, and I know he feels the same, but we just always have a great banter. Both have garbage teams, except today when the Panthers win. But anyway, this is the third matchup of the Harbaugh brothers. I'm excited about seeing them come together again. It's been a long time. The last meeting, I think, was when they met in the Super Bowl years ago, when the other Harbaugh was here, John, I can't ever now that I'm talking about both of them, I'm like one of them, okay? The West Coast one met the Ravens. It feels like John Harbaugh has been a Ravens coach for forever, honestly. But this is one of those things that the Ravens need to make sure that they do what they got to do. And they're going to do it because they're trying to make playoff positions. And this is going to solidify them. And it's kind of like big brother versus little brother again. And this is going to be one of these situations that we see Lamar Jackson explode. He also has King Henry, who's still wearing that crown over in the AFC. And they have to stay very, very close to the Bills, who are right on the heels, no rhyme intended, of the Chiefs. So today they've got to win. Now, the thing is, because the other Harbaugh, the Chargers Harbaugh, is just coming back to the league, this could be a trap game just because it's kind of like his way to be like, okay, this is my third time meeting my brother. And sometimes, like I said, coaching supersedes plays. It's going to come down to who does the better coaching between these brothers and who plays the better game on the field.
Yes.
All right, I think that's all we had time for today. Did we get everybody covered today, Jack and James?
Yeah, just one quick thing on the game very quickly. Justin Tucker, the great field goal kicker for the Ravens, has been struggling a lot. So I have a feeling he might be a difference maker, either good or bad today.
He may be a difference maker. Any closing remarks, J-Train?
Yeah, I just think today, overall, great job. And Jack, let's go back to that hard trivia question. You nailed it. That was just a great job, man, on that.
He nailed it. Mac, Linda, we appreciate the opportunity to come in. Thank you, Keith Angle. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, J Train, for joining us as always. Tonight, we got the NFL download with J Train. I'll probably hop on and we'll get somebody on there with him tonight. Matt, continue to get better. And we wish everybody a great Thanksgiving from our cast here at the Big Football Show. We'll see you guys soon.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.